Hi, I'm Charlie, and today I want to talk about how you using your skills and your talents for your community is in itself an act of grace. I'm a Christian, and one of the things that I most love about the way that God has arranged his people is that he talks about us like a body. I've learned a decent amount about how the body works, and if nothing else, know that it is crazy complicated, and all of the pieces work together and independently. I think that the church is so similar to that, and I think that he uses that imagery so specifically because everybody has their own role, and the problems come when somebody tries to do other people's roles, or in the case of the current day church, you just cast out part of your body. Like, you just decide, oh, gay people can't come to my church. I don't really want to work on bringing black people and white people together. I don't want to actually make space for disabled people to have room in the church. I don't want to let immigrants into my space. Those are all problems of the body casting out itself. And one of the problems that really bothers me about it is that the body ends up with missing parts. It's missing the empathy and compassion that we see from the disabled community, the unboundless love and acceptance and grace of the queer community, the willingness to call out sin and disobedience and like any sort of call out that the black community has. All of those things are missing when we don't actually work together as a body. One of my favorite things about being so intersectional is in my own identity is that I get the opportunity to benefit from all of those communities and all of the great things that they bring to the table. And it makes me sad that the church body as a whole is choosing to kind of walk away from that. The good news is that with or without the acceptance of the larger church body, we still have a space. And that's something that's irrefutable. I watched a sermon the other day that actually talked about grace as a 3-part process. So one is that moment where you actually realize, wait, I cannot do this on my own. And every Christian that I know who has a real and growing relationship with God has had a moment where they were like, I cannot do this on my own. I do not know what I'm doing, and I need God. There's something going on that I literally, no matter what I do, from the bottom of my heart, I need God. So that's the first one, accepting that God is the one who can save us. And that's something I think we talk about. Most people have heard this concept of being saved. That's not anything new. But there was another part that I hadn't heard before, and that's number 2, which is being seated with Christ as an act of grace. That when we were saved, God made space for us at the table. And so he gave us a seat. And the next job after becoming saved is to actually walk and take that seat. The problem comes when the church thinks that it can kick people out of the seat that God gave them. Because they're essentially telling people that there's not a seat for people that there are. And that seat isn't dependent on anyone else but God. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. The problem is when the church feels like it can kick people out of a seat that God actually gave them. And on our end, it's a matter of, okay, if that seat is there for us, are we actually taking it? And not letting other people crowd us out and push us away from the seat that God has for us. Because the best thing is that seat has a purpose. It leads to number 3. And number 3 is when we actually do the work that God has for us. The Bible talks repeatedly about how God has plans for us that he's set up, things for us to do individually in our lives. We all have a calling and a purpose and a way that we can contribute back to our communities. And the only way that we are living the best lives that we can live is when we do those 3 things. And each of those steps are an act of grace. And each of them have value on their own, and none of them can be taken away by anybody else. So I hope you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe below, and I'll see you next week.